Over the last couple of days, I've featured a handful of Matthew Guy press conferences. The reason I've shared them largely intact is that you're highly unlikely to see the full questions and his responses on the nightly news or in the Herald Sun. These questions and the way that he answers them are quite revealing for someone that came out of the gate looking to campaign on an integrity platform. In sharing them, I did get a couple of questions from people saying that they had no idea what much of the questioning was referring to. That's a fair call, I didn't include any of the backstory. So to help people catch up, here's a quick little summary, partly taken from one of my longer videos, as well as with some of the more recent updates. So if you're wondering why Matthew Guy is being asked so many questions these days about his interactions with the Victorian Electoral Commission and the VEC's IBAC referral, hopefully this will help.
Integrity in government means everything.
Transparency and integrity in government.
I value integrity in government and also in opposition. Integrity matters in government.
Then on the 2nd of August, this happened.
The Victorian Liberal Party is facing a police investigation after Matthew Guy's Chief of Staff was forced to quit over a secret payment scandal. It was laid out in an email trail that revealed plans to funnel more than $100,000 to the staffer's private business.
Guy's Chief of Staff, Mitch Catlin, quit after asking a Liberal Party donor to pay approximately $125,000 over roughly a 12-month period, or just over $8,000 per month, to his own marketing company. Furthermore, if the coalition didn't win the election, the monthly payments would increase to over $20,000 per month. This has all the hallmarks of a salary top-up. The Age reported that Caitlin had emailed Matthew Guy asking him to forward the contract to the unnamed donor. According to The Age, the contract must have found its way to the donor, as they report that the donor chose not to sign the contract. Maybe it's just me, but supporting business interests as a service, it's got an icky vibe about it. The integrity platform Matthew Guy had looked to stand on heading into the election had lasted all of 4 days. With the whole deal well and truly failing the pub test, you could tell things were bad when coalition safe ground like Sky News and 3AW were joining the pile-on.
Look, now back to Victoria, where for once it's the opposition that's in trouble over integrity. On Monday, the Chief of Staff to opposition leader Matthew Guy resigned after news leaked out that he, the Chief of Staff, had asked a donor to top up his salary. Now, what an idiot.
These excerpts from a 3AW interview really illustrate the hot water Matthew Guy had found himself in.
This proposal that was detailed in the Age newspaper a week ago about your Chief of Staff looking to get his pay topped up by a donor to the Liberal Party, when did you become aware of that scheme?
Oh, Tom, I've answered all questions on this last week. I'm not going to go into this a week after it for something that never took place. And I'm not sure why a week later, after doing 2 doorstops at the back of Parliament, one at the front of Parliament, you'd asked me the same questions that I said I'd answered a week ago.
For the sake of this audience that might not have heard any of your other interviews, just when did you become aware of it?
Tom, I'm not going to go into this chapter and verse all over again. I'm just not. I'm sorry. I have done this over and over.
Well, his emails say that you actually agreed to the scheme. Is that true?
Well, if something was agreed to, why did it never take place?
Well, according to The Age, it didn't take place because the donor was the one who said no to it.
Would you believe everything you read in The Age with great respect?
No, I wouldn't, and that's why I'm asking you directly, and you can just set the record straight here and we'll move on.
I've said over and over again, if I'd agreed to something, then what the biggest indication to yourself should be that nothing took place.
So you never agreed to it. The email that Mitch Catlin said, where he said that you did agree to it, that's wrong.
Tom, if I'd agreed to something, why did it never take place? I've answered these things all over the whole week. I think it's time to move on and talk about issues actually affecting.
Well,
surely
I would like to move on. I would like to move on, but I would just like this. I would just like this addressed first. I would like this addressed first. All you have to say is, I first heard about it at this point in time, and then you can say, did you agree to it or did you not? Did you knock it on the head, for example?
Tom, I'm not going through all this. I've done this a whole week. I've done a whole week of answering questions on this matter, something that was never agreed to, something I might add again, that was never agreed to, that was never signed, that no money ever changed hands, ever.
Just say when you first heard about it and what was your reaction to it, and then we can move on. But otherwise, it's going to keep going around in circles.
Well, it is going to go around in circles because I can't give you an exact date because I don't go back and look at these emails from the past.
Okay.
I haven't done that.
Well,
I don't intend to do that.
What was your reaction to the scheme?
I've been referred to every body except the AFL Commission on this matter. They can go and do their work. I'm not going to have this debate on 3AW. I'm just not. I'm sorry.
Did you think the scheme was a bad idea when you heard about it?
Did it take place?
No, it didn't take place, but...
Well, doesn't it answer your question?
Well, not necessarily, because according to The Age, it was the donor that said, I won't do it. It wasn't you. So I'm just saying, did you think it was a bad idea? Just yes or no?
Well, the mere fact that nothing took place should answer that question.
So you thought it was a bad idea?
Thank you, Tom. What else would you like to talk to me about?
Well, I would like you to confirm that you thought it was a bad idea.
Well, given this is under investigation by every investigative body the state has, I think it's best those questions left to them rather than a radio interview on 3AW, with great respect.
All right. Who's leaking all these emails? Is it Tim Smith?
I'm an idiot.
That again has got nothing to do with me.
Well, it does.
I have no idea of it.
Well, is it Bernie Finn?
It's got nothing to... That has got no consequence of mine. I have no idea, and I'm not going to accuse someone on national radio. That's just unfair.
Does it worry you that someone is doing it?
Well, I can only say from the very start, nothing was agreed to, nothing was signed. I've done this chapter and verse for a whole week.
You can knock this on the head by saying, I always thought it was a bad idea. But you won't say that. You just say, I don't want to talk about it. And people, the more you say I don't want to talk about it, the more people will ask you about it.
Because I've been asked about it for 8 or 9 days and all day at Parliament last week.
All right, well, I still think it would do you great service if you could just say, this is when I heard about it and this was my reaction. And if you give the right answers there, it moves on. But the fact that you won't directly answer the questions is a very bad look, if I can be so bold.
Well, thanks for the character assessment. I get many of them. And, I'll just, as I said, deal with the fact that the government are the ones who have referred me to every investigative body by the AFL Tribunal, and I'll deal with that.
Damn, that was a train wreck.
So since my first video looking at this way back on the 11th of August 2022, a couple of things have happened, or not happened, depending on your perspective. On the 12th of August, Matthew Guy confirmed that the VEC had contacted him the night before and told him to hand over emails and any other documentation he might have.
Late last night, the Electoral Commission have commenced some preliminary work, and they've asked me for any documentation we have. We'll provide that for them. I mean, you'd expect them to do that. They need to do preliminary work. But now they've commenced that preliminary work, I'll comply and make sure we work with them at every stage, at every step.
Then, on the 12th of November, The Age reported that the VEC's investigation into the donation scandal would not be finalised until after the state election. The Age reported the VEC is suggesting that getting factual evidence about the contract had been a time-consuming and legally delicate process. Then, on the 17th of November, the VEC dropped a bombshell statement that basically kicked off Guy's horror run of press conferences. In their statement, the VEC said that they had referred their Matthew Guy and Mitch Caitlin investigation to the Independent Broad-Based Anti-Corruption Commission for further investigation. Given that at this point Matthew Guy would appear to have been the only party connected to the investigation to have made a public comment, the following section of the VEC's statement was particularly pointed. Despite public statements to the contrary, the VEC has not received full cooperation from those connected to its investigation. While the VEC is not in a position to allege wrongdoing based on the allegations it has sought to investigate, the possibility of offences against the Act, including under Section 218B, have also not been able to be discounted. This leads us into the first of the press conference videos covering the 17th and 18th of November, and the tit-for-tat statements released by both the Liberal Party and the VEC. Oh, and the cease and desist style letter. So now you're all caught up. It's safe to say the Victorian state election 2022 has been a very spicy affair.